All right, that big story at this hour, the US Vice President in India today, and it's a 4-day visit like our reporters have been telling us. Karishma also continues to be with us this morning, and Shashank Mattu, of course, tracking those key developments. First to you, Shashank, again, talk to us about the key details of what is going to be on the table as far as discussions between the US government and India is concerned. This, of course, is a high-stakes visit, given the kind of tensions we've seen over the last few weeks or so over tariffs, which, of course, affects India adversely as well. So what is going to be India's point of view? Tell us more.
Well, I think, Sneha, the important thing to remember here is from the Indian perspective, we have to understand how they're looking at JD Vance. JD Vance, of course, is being seen as a trusted lieutenant of the president on issues related to foreign policy. He was sent to deliver a very tough message to the Europeans at the Munich Security Conference just a couple of months ago. He's just coming from Italy as well, another significant foreign visit. There are reports in the US media that, in fact, he may be deputed by President Donald Trump to handle some of the tariff issues, particularly the incoming trade war that you're seeing with China. So again, JD Vance is someone who month by month seems to be accruing more influence in the Trump administration. And that's what India is looking for in terms of another pathway, another through line to President Trump in the White House to push for India's perspective and to help understand where the India-US relationship is going. So developing JD Vance as someone who understands how important the India-US partnership is important from that perspective. But yes, you're absolutely right. The trade conflict is definitely going to be on the agenda, particularly, as I said, because of reports that JD Vance actually might be stepping into a much more expansive and important role when it comes to handling America's policy on these issues. There's also going to be, of course, conversations on technology. There have been some concerns about how the Trump administration is going to handle technology. The Biden administration was willing, of course, to work very, very closely with India on high technologies. Whether the Trump administration will do this, we have a new initiative called Trust that is supposed to take the Biden administration's work forward. That is expected to be unveiled. And you're also going to, I think, have a general discussion of other key foreign policy priorities, trying to, for example, understand where America stands on key issues like China, also on broader foreign policy priorities around the world. So absolutely, it is going to be a key visit. But the key takeaway I would love to leave our viewers with is just this idea that JD Vance is really, as you were mentioning, Donald Trump's key lieutenant, his key deputy, taking on more responsibility. And India wants to develop him as someone who understands how important the India-US relationship is.
Be with us. I'm just going to come back to you in a moment from now. Shashank Mattu getting asked those details. Karishma also continues to be with us. A little about what's on JD Vance's agenda as he, in fact, is about to land in Delhi today. Evaluation of Indo-US trade talks. It's, in fact, number one as far as the agenda is concerned. The meet fall deadline for trade deal. That is also something that is going to figure in the talks. Of course, trade deal, regional security top goals and global developments of mutual interest, strengthening overall bilateral ties between both the nations. Of course, these are things that will be discussed threadbare between both the leaders. But Karishma is also with us. Karishma, we know, and like Shashank has been telling us, that the concerns here are about, further cooperation when it comes to both the countries as far as the trade talks concerned. A bit of a limbo here as far as the imposition of tariffs is concerned, given the stance that the US government has essentially taken. Of course, worrying India to a great extent. Can hear me? I was asking you about the fact that trade restructuring is something that would be looked at. Indo-Pacific cooperation, global supply chain resilience, all of these are issues that would be discussed today.
Well, absolutely right, Sneha. In fact, these are just a couple of them, and the main focus is going to be clearly on the bilateral trade ties. If you see that the 90-day rebate that we have got is something that is just temporary relief, but what has to be awaited on a future roadmap of how India and US see their relationship. And JD Vance and his family's visit to India only kind of reiterates that how are we going to take this trade relationship forward? Let's not forget that India's Commerce Ministry is confident of the fact that India has had a first mover advantage, and among all the other countries that you see, we actually are still on the first mover advantage because we have a high-end official, the Vice President of the United States of America, visiting us to talk, and it definitely hints quite. It's a green signal for a lot of aspects, but the negotiations will still require deep discussions to see what comes out of this. India is looking to actually reduce its trade deficit, surplus deficit with US, which is also a sign that India is prepared for both the good and bad side of it. The good that maybe JD Vance's visit could turn out beneficial for them, and if it doesn't, then India is looking to also find its alternative sources.
Well, absolutely. These are details that Karishma is sharing with us as far as the visit of JD Vance to India is concerned. Shashank, this visit is extremely symbolic as it is strategic, isn't it? It's also got to do with the fact that the second lady has got a deep India connection. This is about shared heritage. This is also about India's soft power essentially on display. Like clearly, it's not purely about just sheer diplomacy. This visit is also deeply personal, and that makes it all the more important, isn't it?
No, you're absolutely right. I think the fact that they've taken their family along for this visit, particularly taking them to Jaipur and Agra, everything we're hearing from the American side, for example, does seem to indicate that this is really a cultural and family trip as much as it is a strategic visit. We know that, of course, there are meetings with Prime Minister Modi and a dinner for JD Vance to interact with top leaders. But really, after that, it's a event that's packed with events for the Vance family to introduce their three children to Indian culture, to the culture of their mother, Usha Vance, for her first visit as a second lady to India. So again, an important visit, of course, for also building that personal connect with someone who is very likely to be a very significant politician in America in the future. Vice presidents in America do have this tendency of becoming president at some point in time, and of course, having that personal relationship as well as that political professional relationship is something that India is going to be looking at building with JD Vance during his 4-day visit here.
Let's tell you a little about the second lady, Usha Chilukuri Vance. Born in San Diego to Indian immigrant parents, she traces her origins to Andhra Pradesh. Usha's father is a mechanical engineer from IIT Madras, graduated from Yale University, served as a law clerk for multiple federal judges, and she married JD Vance in the year 2014. Shashank continues to be with us, and so does Karishma. Shashank, tell us a little about the kind of leverage that you think India would have in these discussions when it comes to trade, when it comes to tariffs, and also the signing of an India-US trade deal, the early signing of a deal, very much on the cards.
So you're right. There is absolutely a very, very key demand from both sides to push this bilateral trade agreement forward. Really, by September this year is what we're hearing. You're also going to likely see an early harvest deal where the two countries really sit down with each other, clear some very important proposals in terms of easing market access for each other, so that you have an early harvest, an early agreement between the two sides, and then a more comprehensive bilateral agreement later in the year. But what India really has, of course, going for it is that it understands it is a strategic partner for the United States. It understands that America wants market access. It also wants market access to particular segments of the US economy. And so, of course, there's going to be that back and forth, that give and take that is going on in the bilateral negotiations. But of course, India will also have its concerns in terms of ensuring that those reciprocal tariffs don't kick back in again. And pushing that agenda and communicating the importance of that is something that is obviously going to come up between Prime Minister Modi and JD Vance when it comes to their big meeting. But absolutely, what we know at this point in time is that America is pushing for a broad a broad trade agreement that, of course, goes sector by sector and, of course, really liberalizes trade between the two countries. India is hoping for something slightly more limited, slightly that protects, of course, some of its smaller industries, particularly agriculture. So you're having that back and forth. But everything we've heard from top officials so far seems to suggest that talks are going well. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has mentioned that talks are going well, as have other senior top officials. So far, there is no reason to believe that that talks have gone off the rails in any way. Of course, India has not retaliated to American tariffs as well. So that, again, has set a much more positive tone for India-US trade talks, which are being carried forward even as we speak.
Absolutely. Be with us. Shashank, I'm just going to come back to you in a moment from now. Shivani is also with us for the very latest on that. Shivani, talk to us about defense procurements and what's going to be expected as far as the discussions around that aspect of this conversation is concerned.
See, this meeting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and JD Vance is going to be very important. And this is a comprehensive meeting, not only the defense, but also the tariff trade agreement for which India and United States are moving ahead. And in terms of the defense also, Sneha, there are a number of deals that are in pipeline with the United States, be it the MQ-9 zone that has been finalized from the United States for the Indian Navy. And apart from that, we also share a strong defense partnership because a number of exercises happen together and the number of naval exercises that happen together and other deals also. Remember when Prime Minister Narendra Modi had gone to America, an approval or and a proposal, in fact, was made about the F-35 fighters. So India and United States are working together to strengthen their defense ties, the diplomatic ties. The very important fact out here is about the tariffs. As we see, the tariff war is going on, and India has been working together with the United States to work and to find a solution, in fact, and find a middle path, like the trade agreement. So both the countries are working together. So this particular visit by the United States, the Vice President, will be very important. He will be landing in Palam around at 10 o'clock, and then he'll be visiting Akshardham Temple. He'll be going to the art gallery. He'll be meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the evening for a very important bilateral. So a very important meeting, and the whole nation is looking forward, and not only for India, but globally also it will be very important and a lookout for Iran.
Absolutely. You know, Karishma, India is a close partner for the US bilateral trade, FDIs as well, like Shivani was saying, even defense cooperation. And that's the reason why this is an opportunity for both countries to strengthen their bilateral ties vis-a-vis the economic cooperation as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And Sneha, it actually gives me a little deja vu nostalgia of when the former UK President, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, along with his wife, had visited India. And I want to come back to what Shashank was saying, that besides the political, bilateral, economic, and the global relations that we share with United States of America, I think it is more of an emotional and cultural aspect that the country is looking forward to host the Vice President and his wife, who comes from an Indian origin, comes from the south of India, Andhra Pradesh. I think this is going to carry a lot of importance also on the talking table, on the negotiating table, because you see it is the cultural influence that could add on to some kind of a smooth takeoff and cushioning when it comes to the stringent trade talks that we have been doing.
Well, absolutely. These are details that we have with us as far as this important high-profile visit is concerned. Of course, defense on the agenda as well, defense procurement on the agenda, like Shivani is telling us.